family. It's your brother Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. You're here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, where every night, Monday to Friday, we have a global classroom. It's not a podcast, it's not a TV show. I mean, it's all those things, but it's also more than that. We break down ideas, we have great conversation, and we talk about all the things going on in the world from an intellectual point of view. You get the professor right here to have a conversation with you all, but it's two ways because I get a whole lot of learning from you all as well. I'm gonna shout out a few people here, especially people who are here as members of the channel, because what y'all do every single night to make this show happen is indispensable. Y'all make everything so much better. Bill Williamson, who got here mad early, beyond Ebony, wa alaikum salam, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you as always. Harmony's in the building. Ilya's in the building, a new channel member, in fact. Ilya Padzitnik is here. Just joined the channel, so please give Ilya a welcome to the fam, man, because we really appreciate when we get new people. Lil Miss is here. Thank you. Rolanda, we see you. Odette Marie is in the building as well. Rachel from Massachusetts is up in here. Kime Obayade Acosta is here. Adrian is here. Boaz Kim Music is here. Coyote Hole is here. Michaela is here. Nicole Davis is here. Karen D. Shout out to Disrupt Media. Says, "What's up, fellow nerds? I love it. I love it." They talking to you, Princess. Robin Walker Murphy, good to see you. The Wander, good to see you. Roy, so glad to have you here. Love Jones 757. It's a pleasure. Leslie Young, so good to have you. Rosability, one of the OGs in the building, she said, "Hey fam, here and ready to learn. We ready to break some stuff down." The anti-corporatists in the building. Oh my God, it's been a month of Sundays. Bullet the Bunny's back in the room. One of the OGs from the channel is back in the room. She's been running around the world, making the world better. And I'm glad that you made our room better by joining us tonight. Baby K, greetings. Good to see you. Keenan Bullard, good to see you as well. Everybody, Lady Blurred, so good to see you. And of course, Jazz LP is here. Jazz LP is here. She's been enjoying her birthday celebrations and such. So please shout out Jazz LP, Dallas's finest, with a birthday. What's up? With a birthday greeting. All right, y'all. Back to what we got to do here. And of course, Build the Bunny sent a special happy birthday to Jazz LP. So that's the beauty. That's the love that we getting out here. Jazz L, Set, JKR, so many others. But yo, thank you all for being members of the channel. Thank you all for joining me on this journey, because every single night the work we do here on the channel only happens from people who support us, not just financially, but people who come every night, share the videos, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I can't tell you how grateful I am. But let's get started, because we got a lot to talk about tonight. Let's start with Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator Lindsey Graham is a fascinating guy. He is a powerful Republican senator who spends so much of his time making the world worse than he found it. And when Lindsey Graham entered the scene, of initially hating Donald Trump, pushing back against Donald Trump, saying we would never have Donald Trump as a president. And before you know it, he was carrying Trump's water too. There's just so much going on in the world that's bad, and it seems to be tied to people like Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell and others. So it's no surprise that Senator Lindsey Graham said what he said today about Gaza. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham suggested that Israel nuke Gaza. Now, I know you're thinking I'm probably pushing his words too far. I'm over-interpreting it. I'm assigning the worst possible meaning to something that he said. No. You don't understand. This man said that we should nuke Gaza. It was pretty unequivocal, black and white, what the man said. His comments came during an interview with Meet the Press on NBC. The Republican senator said that Israel should continue bombing Gaza. And he added, quote, "When we were faced with destruction as a nation after Pearl Harbor, fighting the Germans and the Japanese, we decided to end the war by the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. It was the right decision." Now, unfortunately, this isn't the first time that somebody said something like this. In fact, just last month, another congressperson said the same thing. Representative Tim Walberg was criticized when he tweeted, quote, "We shouldn't be spending a dime on humanitarian aid. It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Get it over quick. So there's so many things wrong with this. Despite how the United States talks about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, for many people, Hiroshima and Nagasaki are not just awful acts of violence, um, but they are textbook cases of crimes against humanity and war crimes. Um, but regardless of where you sit on the Hiroshima and Nagasaki uh, legality in international law and custom, we certainly know that numerous innocent people were killed as a result of these bombings. The idea of these bombings, of course, Hiroshima and Nagasaki were tied to the idea that Japan had a nuclear program that it wasn't going to relinquish, that they were a looming threat, and that this was the only way to preserve life. This was the argument, at least, by the by the powers that be. That ain't what's happening in Gaza. That's not what happened. It's not what happened in Gaza. In Gaza, the very clear thing. The powerful, the country with all the cards, it's not the Palestinian state. It's not the Gazan government it's not the Hamas government in Gaza. It's Israel. Who has nuclear weapons? Israel. Who has the Iron Dome defense system? Israel. Who has the qualitative military edge? Israel. So how are we pretending somehow that the way to stop the violence or the way to achieve a kind of just, ugly, nasty, but ultimately just war outcome is to just bomb Palestinians until tomorrow, right? I mean, the idea that you would bomb Palestine. Let me take a step back. It ain't going to happen, right? We hope, right? There's no argument. There's no plausible argument for this. The human rights community is saying that just invading Rafah would be beyond the boundaries of decency and legality. But to suggest that Palestinians could just be blown away as a solution, as a serious solution from a senator, a sitting senator, a senior senator, an elder statesman in the Congress, says exactly where the U.S. stands. It's also a reminder of what's at stake if Trump becomes president again. As awful as Joe Biden is on this issue, as indifferent as he's been to the genocide in Gaza, Donald Trump is so committed to his bromance with Benjamin Netanyahu that there's absolutely no way that things won't get worse under Trump on this issue. Again, not telling you who to vote for, but what I am telling you is, Lindsey Graham ain't speaking just for himself. Lindsey Graham is speaking for an entire movement of people who just don't believe the Palestinians are human. And the fact that you would invoke Hiroshima and Nagasaki, one of the most awful moments in our modern history, one of the most brutal and violent expressions of state violence and imperial violence, says a lot, again, about how they feel, about how Lindsey Graham feels about Palestinians, but also what we imagine to be a plausible and defensible response from Israel. Anyway, let's move on, because other things are happening at the same time. Let's talk about Duke students. Duke students protested Jerry Seinfeld, who gave the commencement speech at their university. Duke students decided to protest Jerry Seinfeld. That's something I wouldn't have thought I would have heard a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. There was a time when Jerry Seinfeld was not only considered one of the funniest people in the world and certainly one of the most famous in the United States, but somebody who was relatively uncontroversial. Well, that's been changing lately, and it's changing not just with Seinfeld and not just at Duke, but all around the country. Students at colleges around the United States staged walkouts during spring commencement. About 75 Rutgers University students quietly walked out of Sunday's commencement ceremony in protest of the university's ties with companies connected to Israel. Students at Virginia Commonwealth University's commencement walked out because of Governor Glenn Youngkin's commencement address. Students say their protest was over gender issues as well as the university's handling of anti-genocide protesters. Now let's get to Duke. Duke graduates walked out of Jerry Seinfeld's commencement speech in protest. You see, Jerry Seinfeld was getting an honorary degree from the institution when he was met with a wave of boos and students walking out. They just went into the aisles and walked away. I mean, look at these kids, man. They starting to turn and walk away. They walking out, not in droves, but a sizable number. And they're not just walking, they're booing. They're making it very clear that they are leaving because of Jerry Seinfeld. Some of the kids, as you see, they're leaving. They're also carrying Palestinian flags. Why would these kids be leaving Jerry Seinfeld? Some people say this is outrageous. Jerry Seinfeld is entitled to his point of view. Jerry Seinfeld is Jewish. To walk out on Jerry Seinfeld is anti-Semitic, or to walk out on Jerry Seinfeld is to not allow for free speech. Well, let's be very clear. Walking out on Jerry Seinfeld is not an attack on free speech. It's an articulation of free speech, and it's an expression of free speech. Jerry Seinfeld has every right to speak in the world however he chooses to do so. And Duke has every right to invite him to be the commencement speaker. But the people, the students, the faculty, the community have a right to say, we don't want that. And part of the freedom of speech and freedom of expression is to turn around and walk out. And that's what they did. And you see, the second part of that gives you the reason. It's not because Jerry Seinfeld is Jewish. It's not. Jerry Seinfeld has been vocally supportive of Israel, specifically Israel's genocide of Palestinians, since October 7th. Now, he doesn't say, hey, I'm pro-genocide, but the position that he takes ultimately underwrites and supports genocide. He's a celebrity. And so his moves, his position, his point of view, it gets spread more widely and it matters more intensely. After October 7th, Jerry Seinfeld expressed sympathy with Israel. That's normal. Lots of people did. People, prayed for the victims. Understood. But then he flies to Israel to basically give support to the troops and to the Israeli citizenry. And it's like, wait a minute. What are you doing here? People say, well, he's just, supporting Israel, but he's not against Palestinians. And I gotta say, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. What I know is Jerry Seinfeld has said things that feel anti-Palestinian. He has supported the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, or IOF, uncritically. And then look at this image I'm showing y'all right now. This is him in 2018. In 2018, Jerry Seinfeld went to an IDF camp. It's like the equivalent of like when you do like the fantasy baseball or whatever. He went to a West Bank military camp. Jerry Seinfeld in 2018 went to a West Bank, it's called the Caliber 3 training facility. And when you go to these places, they show you combat displays, Krav Maga, you play with assault dogs, you hold machine guns. And as you see here, Jerry Seinfeld brought his whole family to an IDF fantasy camp. Now, the IDF is the force that suppresses and represses Palestinian people. The IDF is who is killing the people of Gaza right now. So, yeah, I get that he's just going to Israel and he's taking some fancy pictures, but you can't take pictures with the IDF. You can't show your family hanging out at fantasy camp where they literally do drills and other maneuvers and training that is used to kill Palestinian people. Imagine if DJ Khaled, let's say DJ Khaled had a spine and actually had a political vision. If DJ Khaled were to walk around at a Hamas fantasy camp where he's just running around, he's in Ramallah, just running around wearing Palestinian colors and shooting off a grenade launcher or something far away, where his kids are hanging out with members of Fatah or Jabha, Fatah or PFLP. Like, imagine if DJ Khaled were doing that. Just imagine that, what people would be saying right now. They'd be trying to deport him. But it's Jerry Seinfeld, and it's the IDF, and all they do is kill Palestinians. And so there's a way that no one seems to care. And this is so profoundly outrageous that it's no surprise that people would be upset. And if they're upset, then it makes no sense that these kids would not walk out on Jerry Seinfeld. Good for them. Shout out to them for walking out on Jerry Seinfeld, because he deserves it. All right, we're going to take a quick 30-second break. We'll be right back with more from Night School. All right, family, welcome back to Night School. We got a lot going on tonight, much to keep up with. We're going to continue, though, to talk about what's happening on college campuses, because the UNC Chapel Hill institution that many people know of, not that far from Duke, in fact, it has decided to prioritize campus police over DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill will be taking a backseat to campus police. On Monday, the university's board of trustees voted to divest $2.3 million from diversity programs and instead put the money into public safety. The decision follows a spark of pro-Palestinian protests at campuses across the nation. The university says this is its way of bringing back order, and the change, of course, will go into effect this fall. This is what you call payback. The big payback. So, first of all, you need to understand that UNC Chapel Hill is a very conservative place. They've always been a very conservative place. But this is the place that wouldn't hire Nicole Hannah-Jones. Even though she got hired by the faculty, they were trying to give her a hard time about tenure. They were trying to give her a hard time about her money. They were trying to make it difficult for her to come in. Why? Because they have conservative board members. They have conservative alumni base, and they don't pretend not to be. And so they saw giving Nicole Hannah-Jones a hard time as being a kind of way of pushing back against quote unquote wokeness. That's what they like to say. Against wokeness. That's what they like to say. So when the pro-Palestinian protests come out, the UNC Board of Governors decides that they're going to crack down. They're going to fight back. They're going to silence the resistance. How do you silence the resistance? Well, you make people pay. You arrest students. You tear down encampments. You silence voices. You make effectively an enemies list. UNC North Carolina has done that. But they've gone a step further now. They're saying, you know what? We're going to take money out at a moment where there's a war on DEI, where there's a war on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, because God forbid a campus be concerned with diversity or equity or inclusion. They make it sound like it's some kind of secret McCarthyist overtaking of the university, as opposed to an attempt to simply create a democratic and diverse student climate. That said, they're saying that they're going to take the money out of that. They divested $2.3 million from diversity programs because, again, why would you be diverse in a place like North Carolina? Who could possibly need that, right? It's crazy talk. And instead, they're going to invest it in public safety. So this becomes a way of saying that the Palestinian protests produced unsafety on campus. And so now we have to crack down. This is part, again, of carceral logic. Whenever there's a problem, we police it. Whenever there's a problem, we arrest our way out of it. We control our way out of it. We criminalize our way out of it. We coerce our way out of it through the state. None of that is the proper way to respond to the contradictions that we see on campus. But this isn't about that. This isn't about saying, okay, we need to create more order for protest on campus. They're saying we don't want any more protest on campus. We want nothing but silence on campus. And if you have to talk, speak in favor of Israel. That's the only way this thing seems to play out and make sense. So taking DEI money and dumping it into policing is only going to make the camp feel more militarized. Students are going to feel more criminalized, more surveilled. This is not healthy. This is not wise. But they've already voted on it. So all we can do is put a public spotlight on it and complain. But please understand that University of North Carolina is not going to be alone in this. every single day, universities become more and more like multinational corporations. They casualize more labor, like more adjuncts. They do everything they can to defund unions. They try to exploit graduate students for all the labor. They deliver less and less and charge more and more. I mean, the presidents of universities are much more like multinational corporate CEOs than they are educational stewards. So when you have those kinds of backgrounds, you got this kind of context. It's no surprise that universities are going to do what's good for business. And what's good for business is whatever the donors want to say. If you have a conservative base, and what's good for business is taking on conservative causes. If donors are sad or upset or angry about DEI or affirmative action or whatever, then they're going to double down on that. The universities don't have a principal position. They simply have a financial position. This is something that we cannot allow to become the norm. Reading some of the comments here. Okay, there's some interesting diversity among the comments. Make sure y'all read the comments and respond to each other. I'm gonna keep going because we got a couple more stories before we go. This one, when I say pissed me off, I mean pissed me off. A black man is facing jail for telling a cop something that the cop didn't like, and now they're trying to make him go to jail for using his First Amendment rights. We're gonna take a 30-second break. On the other side, I'm gonna tell you about this man. I'm laughing because I saw this comment from Zakia, how Mark is able to display sleepiness and intellect simultaneously is on a different level. I wouldn't be making no sense. Yo, I be tired, yo. Night school be kicking my butt, yo. We working it out, but night school, I be tired, but I love y'all, man. My brain is able to function even when I'm exhausted. But it made me laugh because I was like, yo, I'm tired as hell. But I love y'all so much. I love the conversation. I love the analysis that you all bring out in the comment section. So make sure as you're watching me and listening to me, you're also talking to each other, responding to each other, and hitting that like button, because hitting the like button expands the reach of the program. And especially when we're live, man, more and more people jump in, more and more people see what we're talking about, more and more people get excited about what we're talking about. So make sure that you do that. But let me tell you about this story about this brother, man, because this story has me irked. A black man is facing 30 days in jail for telling a cop, "Get your ass out of the way." This is a picture of Alabama native Reginald Burks. Burks was pulled over by an officer in the town of Ozark, that's southeast Alabama. And the reason he was pulled over allegedly was that he was driving beyond the speed limit. Now, when Burks asked the officer how fast he was going, the officer said his radar was broken, so he used his cruise control to estimate it. And I don't know if y'all know, cops do that all the time. If the speed limit is 65, the cop will do a speed, see, and see, like, look, if Jazz LP is doing 80 and I'm doing 65, then the gap between us should get greater. If I do 85, that means I'm gaining on you. That means I know you're doing less than 85. So you can guesstimate based on cruise control. But you can't just be guesstimating and writing me a ticket for it. That's not really how it's supposed to go. But anyway, he gets ticketed and he tells the officer, "Get your ass out of the way so I can take my kids to school." I guess the police were still in his way, maybe parked in front of him, maybe blocking him. He took the ticket and he says, "Get your ass out the way so I can take my kids to school." Man trying to take his kids to school. Now, even though Burks appeared in court and paid the ticket, the judge gave Burks an ultimatum. The judge says to this black man, "You either write an apology letter to the police officer for saying get your ass out the way, or you will face 30 days behind bars." Now, Burks believes that this decision violates his First Amendment right to free speech and the Eighth Amendment right protecting him from cruel and unusual punishment. It's an interesting battle because Alabama law prohibits public use of, quote, abusive or obscene language. Burke said, "I wasn't using obscene language. As I said, it was ass, and ass is in the Bible. So therefore, it's not obscene. What you got to say now, Mr. Judge? And the judge basically was like, apologize or take your ass to jail. Now, here's my frustration. Police officers have been trained to act as if they are gods in the hood, gods in urban America. How many times have you been afraid to beep your horn at a police officer or to say something to a police officer who's doing something wrong because you just don't want to get locked up? We're sort of trained in our brain to say, even if the police are wrong, you can't disrespect the police officer. You can't do whatever. Even if they're disrespecting you, you can't push back in the same way, because if you do, you are asking for it. Now, look, there are some practical realities about policing. I don't want y'all to go out and get shot. I want y'all to come home in one piece. I get that. However, we also can't pretend that police are these gods on earth that we have to genuflect before. I have a right to tell a cop to get his ass out the way. I have a right to say to a cop, yo, move, man. Now, if my paperwork ain't right, if my driver's license ain't right, if I ain't got no insurance on the car, I probably won't say that. I'll be like, hello, officer, how are you? Lovely day, isn't it? Because I want to arouse no suspicion. I get that. But if a person follows the rules, plays by the rules, and simply asks the police officer something that the police officer didn't like, you shouldn't be trying to put me in jail for saying what I said. This is what people mean when they say buck breaking. This isn't about the law. This is about saying, Negro, stay in your place. We still in Alabama. And you can't be talking to no white man like that. And so now they're saying, if this man doesn't apologize, he has to go to jail. Now, if I were him, I would not apologize. But it's also like, do I just apologize and go on with my life, or do I, risk going to jail for 30 days? This is how people end up taking pleas. This is a very small, low-level case, right? The guy's probably going to apologize, and that's going to be that. But this is how people end up taking plea deals, especially in federal court. It's like, maybe the person isn't guilty. Maybe they just don't want to spend that much time and energy, rolling the dice. Like, so for example, if I'm a defendant in federal court, maybe I didn't do it. But it's like, do I want to spend this much time and energy? Do I want to risk going to prison? Because they threw 1 trillion years at me. Whereas if I just take this plea, I'll go to jail for 6 months or a year. I didn't do it, but you know what? It doesn't even matter. I don't want to risk it. Right. And so you start to make your legal decisions not based on what's right and wrong, but what's pragmatic. And right now, they telling my man in Alabama, Reginald Burks, you're going to have to make a business decision here. Forget about right or wrong. Either you apologize to the judge for your disrespect, or you're going to sit your behind in a jail cell. Sadly, this also isn't about the pragmatics or the expenses of the court. It's about telling black people, yo, you're in Alabama, stay in your place. Negroes don't talk to white people that way. And every time you do, we're going to make sure we find another jail cell for you. Oof, it's rough, man. But this is why I say there's so much of policing is about domination and control. It's not about... Anyway, I could go on and on about this topic, but I'm very frustrated. I hope the brother does not apologize. I'm not telling the brother what to do in terms of the jail part of it. If you're looking at 30 days in jail, you may not have it. But I personally, I'm like Odette Marie, man. I would pick jail. I can't see me sitting there. If I feel like what I did was right, I'm not going to apologize just to avoid jail. They're trying to buck break you, man. It's wild. All right, y'all. I got one more story, and I'm going to take another quick break. But when we come back, I'm going to tell you about what the latest with Diddy and the ridiculousness that's happening with him and his kids. Stay right here. All right, y'all. I'm reading the comments, and a lot of y'all saying y'all would go to jail. It's an interesting thing, yo. A lot of y'all saying you'd rather go to jail than apologize to that police officer. And I tell y'all, and the brother said, look, I didn't even use abusive language. Ass is in the Bible. I don't know, man. It's not the worst. It's not the worst argument. It's not the worst argument. Y'all said Princess's countdown scared you. Yo, she was, just so y'all, she was, when we took that quick break, I put my head down for a minute. I think she wanted to make sure I ain't pass out and go to sleep, because anybody who knows me knows I fall asleep very easily and for very long amounts of time. It don't take much. Anyway, Let's talk about this last story, man. All right. Y'all all know Diddy been in a whole lot of trouble. Well, he ain't been alone. His sons have also been implicated in some of this stuff. Some of his colleagues have been implicated in some of this stuff. Some of his peers in music have been executive peers have been implicated in this stuff. Well, Sean Diddy Combs' son has had enough of people coming for him and his daddy. So Sean Diddy Combs' son, King Combs, as he's known as an artist, he made a song dissing rapper 50 Cent. Now, the song is it's about as good as a Nepo baby rap song is going to be, right? I mean, I think that the kid has talent. I think he has stage performance presence and performance skill. Just not a great rapper. And he decided anyway to make a rap song. It's clapping back at the people coming for his daddy. He said, "Don't say no Diddy. If anybody says no Diddy, they're getting slapped." Right? That's what he talking about. But he saved the specific and most intense vitriol for 50 Cent. In the song, he said he had this verse or his bar too, where he said, "When all they had, when all they had was 50 Cent, who put the city on the map? Stop lying. Pop's been hated on by many men, and that's fine. They're gonna try to stop these M&Ms, and they're gonna die trying." So of course you hear the word 50 Cent, you hear Many Men, which is one of 50 songs, you hear Eminem, and you hear Die Trying. And you realize, okay, this is a very clear attempt to come at 50 Cent, who has been trolling and mocking and clowning Diddy for years, but especially since his trial started, or since it's not his trial, since his public trial in the court of public opinion began, since all the gossip and rumors and lawsuits and innuendos have spilled out. People have been coming for Puff. People have been coming for Sean Combs. Again, no Diddy is now a shorthand for like, pause or no homo or all these other homophobic, deeply homophobic expressions and slang expressions that people use in hip hop. Well, they've replaced them all with no Diddy. So King Combs had enough. He mad at y'all. So he comes for 50 in particular, who's been clowning and telling people business, which I think is hilarious in general, to watch 50 Cent troll people. But it's a little different with the Diddy stuff. It's complicated, it's delicate, and I don't like it in the same way. But 50 went to Instagram to respond to King Combs. He said, "I feel so threatened by the things Christian is saying on his record." Christian, of course, is King Combs' real name. "I'm afraid for my life. Please don't hurt me, guys. I never mentioned or posted anything about Puffy's kids because KVD said he killed Tupac." LOL. So he's clowning Puff, clowning Christian, basically mocking him. He's like, "You're not a tough guy. You're a Nepo baby. You're a rich kid. I'm not afraid if you're talking trash. I think I'll be fine." And 50 Cent certainly can defend himself and doesn't seem to scare easy. But King Combs said something else in the song. He said that the FBI raided the home, but that they didn't realize they had bought another home and that they hadn't raided that one. I'm like, y'all realize this? The feds got Spotify. The feds access the blogs and the radio stations just like y'all do. You bragging to the feds that they got the wrong house, and you telling them where the house is? Who does that but a Nepo baby? Come on, bro. Be quiet. Because King Combs or Christian Combs, whatever, also has some allegations against him. And so you don't want to appear cavalier. You don't want to appear like you. Anyway, not my business, but let's just keep going. People came to King Combs' defense, just like they came to Diddy's defense. One of those people was Meek Mill, who jumped on X, formerly known as Twitter, and said, in part, "Because you're federal, the street niggas in Queens know that. Why are you trying to pick on a little boy? Your son, your son hates your guts, LOL." So Meek and 50 been going back and forth for years, and Meek is now saying, "Look, man, like, what do you want, man?" He said, "Leave the kid alone. He's Diddy's son. He's a little boy, man. You're a grown man. Like, leave it alone." And he points out that 50 Cent has a fraught relationship with his son Marquise, and therefore, like, who should listen to 50? That's Meek Mill's argument, not mine. And 50 was like, "Okay, I'm here for the jokes. We talking. We going back and forth. All right." He said to Meek Mill, "You sold 6,000 copies your last project. You should not be on vacation, still chasing the dream or embracing the nightmare. Standing by your man, what I respect." So again, homophobic implications, clowning people's wealth, income, all this stuff, right? This to me, this stuff is interesting, but like I could live without any of it. But what I'm finding fascinating is, again, the way that we talk about this stuff. Again, all the attention now is on the beef, is on the rap beef, it's on the battles and all that stuff. And by the way, I think these newly sparked rap beefs are corny. It's like we just saw an extraordinary battle between Kendrick and Drake. Let's let that be it. I don't need Game, who I love as a rapper. I don't need Game to make a battle rap against Rick Ross. I don't need Shaq making raps against anybody right now. Like leave all that stuff alone and let's focus on the case. Let's focus on the elements of truth. Let's ask the question: who was harmed and how do we make them whole? And that's a question that we never ask in this whole discourse. We're not asking who was harmed and how do we make them whole, because we're focused on the horse race of it all. Who's winning the beef? Who's winning the battle? Who got the most songs? Blah, 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 blah. I find it all disturbing and disgusting, but we got to pay attention to this King Combs thing, because I worry that Christian or King Combs or whatever is going to implode if he doesn't have the right support around him. Same thing with Puff. I saw Puff posing with the family for Mother's Day. I think that's gorgeous and beautiful, an idea as a picture. But now let's make this thing translate on the ground. It's interesting, though, because that's not what we're talking about, right? We're not talking about how is Puff navigating the world. We're not asking, is he harming people? We're not talking about, are the people in his life safe? We're not talking about, are the allegations against King Combs true? We're not talking about any of that stuff, right? We're just monitoring people's IG for beef and for jokes. We're just talking about Diddy in terms of sexual innuendo, hence the whole no Diddy thing. We're focused on all the wrong parts of this beef. It's nothing. It's a homophobic witch hunt. It's an innuendo and gossip chasing a rumor machine. It's all the things except what it could be. And so when King Combs comes out with a diss record, I'm like, you just adding fuel to the fire. But also, it's just really bad music. Let's be honest. It's just really bad music. Nicole Davis said it's a battle of masculinity. Abel says justice for Kim Porter. That's an interesting point. Diddy did post a picture of Kim Porter for Mother's Day and shouted her out, which I was like, again, I understand why he did that. I'm watching everything, all the responses to it. The public is not with him right now. We got to figure out what that means. Anyway, before we go, I'm going to take a couple quick questions here. I see people. Let me shout out S. Tope, who just became a member as well. I see a couple quick questions here. I'm going to take just one or two. Hope and God said, do you think the war on Gaza will go into 2025? Let me be clear. The war on Gaza has been going on since 2006. So yes, there's no end in sight. But if you mean the formal Israeli campaign in Gaza, allegedly to get Hamas, the swords of iron or whatever it's called, I think it ends before 2025. 2025 is still 9 months away. I don't see this war going another 9 months. I don't think that, not with the U.S. not supporting it, not with the global community making Israel a pariah. I don't see that happening. I think they'll come up with an excuse to back out. Let me see. Jeffaholic said, comforting to hear balanced coverage in these trying times. Thanks, Dr. Hill. Yeah, you ain't got to call me Dr. Hill, but I do appreciate you, Jeff. I appreciate you coming through. I appreciate the love. Jeremiah Muhammad, thank you as always for your wonderful generosity. And Delulu says, do you think Diddy is guilty? I have no idea. I know that there have been many credible charges and claims against him, but I don't know if those are the same ones that are in the lawsuits, because I didn't study each lawsuit. Innocence and guilt for me is a legal standard that doesn't necessarily answer the real question. Do I think Diddy has done harm? Yes. Do I think that he needs to be repaired? Yes. Do I think he needs accountability? Absolutely. That's how I think about it. Whether he's legally innocent, guilty, now, I have no idea. I wasn't there. I don't have the data. But I don't have enough information to make that claim. But I do know that if we keep following it, we'll find out. Anyway, y'all, I want to thank y'all for watching Night School tonight. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Please do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't hit the like button already, do so right now. It will make your life better because you'll get more people, you'll get more resources. All the things happen when you hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe button. Some of y'all are watching and y'all aren't subscribers to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button. It'll make your whole life easier. And if you're so inclined, please hit the join button. Because when you hit the join button, you can become a monthly subscriber to the channel, which allows you to fund on a regular basis this content. I don't have a billionaire donor behind me. I don't have a corporate media a conglomerate pushing me or holding me out there. I don't have any of that. I'm here at the crib working and grinding and using my money and resources that I'm raising to help support staff, to create jobs for people. So I would love, love, love if y'all can help make that happen. But if you can't right now, that's okay. Just keep hitting the like button, keep sharing, and I'll keep watching and keep listening. And I'll also be watching and listening for your questions for office hours, your direction for new program ideas, for story ideas. We listen. So make sure you do that. And some of you all say you want to support the channel more. I've forgotten some notes about that. You can always go to Cash App and Venmo and drop something direct. MLH TV on Cash App or MLH TV on Venmo with the @ sign as opposed to the $. It works, y'all. Right now, based on who's online right now, for everybody watching, we're to donate $4. Just $4. Everybody watching, we're going to go to Cash App, Venmo, and just donate $4. We'd be able to make our goals for the month. Very, very close to make our goals for the month. So the remainder of the month. So please consider doing that. We would be grateful if you could. But again, if you can't, no hard feelings. It's really about the work. It's about sharing the videos and sharing the ideas, because that's what night school is. So I'll see y'all tomorrow at night school, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Can't wait to see you.